Folks, thank you for watching part one of my conversation with Miss Katie Lyssand. Please don't forget to like and subscribe at Lung Transplant Nation on YouTube, Instagram, and on Spotify. Now stay tuned for the part two. Thank you. Hey folks, welcome back to Lung Transplant Nation. I got Miss Katie Lyssand with us again. I want to thank her for the time that she's giving us. So the last time we left her was that after a double lung transplant, a good year into it, her lung functions went down drastically, and then the idea is for her to perhaps get another lung transplant, at least be listed. So let's find out. I really can't wait to find out what happened, because less than 2 years, I would say, that she had a double lung transplant. Everything was doing well. She, had her life in her hands, you know, met a new love of her life, which was awesome. Things are going great. And then boom, all of a sudden, she had some breathing issues again. So Katie, please take us from there. Once they were not able to help you out and your function test wasn't good, and then you had to be put on oxygen again, what was your frame of mind? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did actually have my first set of lungs for about 7 years. So it was at about the 5 year mark that I went into this rejection and got sick again.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
So
that's
they lasted a long time. I had a lot of time to go on adventures. I moved in with my boyfriend, lots of fun times. And then I was on the photophoresis. They had started talking about another transplant.
Mhm.
Um, the social worker sat down with my mom and my boyfriend and I. She looked my boyfriend in the eye and said, "You gonna stick with her through this? Like, she doesn't need somebody that's only here halfway." And I was like, "Oh man, she's giving him an ultimatum."
Wow, she put him on the spotlight. I
She
bet that thing was
did. She
felt like the
did.
sun is burning. Yes.
I know. So she said that, and he started to cry and said, "I'm not going anywhere." And I was like,
That's,
"Oh, we found a good guy."
that's
Um, so
no,
that was
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Mhm.
no, it's okay. So that was a great feeling. And then we left clinic that day, and he and my mom were both like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna do it, right?" And I was like, "I don't know." I knew in my heart I didn't want to die. I wasn't ready to die. I thought I had a lot more life to live.
Absolutely. Mhm.
But I also said, that was a big surgery. It wasn't easy.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I want to do it again. And then my boyfriend at the time and we got invited to a wedding that was out of state. And so I was like, "Well, yeah, we're going to go. This is like my friend from a long time ago. We got to go." And my doctor said, "Well, you need to take oxygen on the plane with you."
Good.
And that's when I was like,
Mm.
oxygen again. And I was like, "I don't think I need it. I don't think I need it." And they said, "No, you need it." And so reluctantly, of course, I agreed. I brought oxygen on the plane, and Jason, he said, "It's okay, babe. Like, just put it on. It's going to make you feel better." So I wore my oxygen on the plane. We got there. We were having an okay time because I didn't feel very good. Um, he convinced me, bring your concentrator to the wedding. Bring your concentrator when you go get your nails done with your friends. Just bring it with you in case you need it.
Sure.
And so I did. And eventually found myself back on oxygen 24/7 again.
Wow. Okay.
Uh,
Okay. All right. So, so it lasted you a while. You felt like everything was good, but fate had a different situation that presented to you. And obviously, as you try to keep doing the things that you need to do and being on oxygen, it's not an easy thing.
mhm.
So, as that is happening, when did you strictly, considered, okay, then I need to do this again? What was that thought process? What was that conversation like with your family? With the new love of your life. I mean, what was that about?
Yeah. That wedding was in December, and I wasn't feeling good at all. We came home for Christmas. I was laying on the couch at my mom's house and on oxygen, not feeling well. And I think I just was thinking about it, and I was like, this isn't the life that I want to live. And like, I know what transplant can do for me. And I think it was at that point where I said, I gotta just, I gotta do this again. And I had a lot of conversations. I actually was in the hospital. I went into the hospital, and my social worker in the hospital said, I'm not ready to present your case to the board because I don't think you're ready.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I was like, oh no, because I thought I was ready. And she said, I don't think you're ready. And until I feel like you're ready, we won't put you on the list because we don't want you to get the call that says we have lungs. And then you say, never mind, I don't want them.
Okay, so that, yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, you see, the life of a social worker in that, instance is to really be blunt, and because they cannot, at least minimize, they want to minimize a mistake, because, like, I mean, like, it's a not that it's a huge surgery, but there's a huge process that goes, behind, the doors, you know,
Yeah.
get a transplant to get prepped up. I mean, you name it, the doctors involved, and everything else. Okay, so how did you take that? How did you take that harsh reality, that, hey, she felt like you were not ready? What was your frame of mind back then?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was a little offended.
Yeah.
I was a little bit mad. And I said to my mom, like, what the heck? Like, what does she mean I'm not ready? Like, how does she know if I'm ready? I was mad about it. And
Yeah, that's understandable. Absolutely.
because here I am telling myself, like, yeah, you're ready, you want to feel good again. And she's telling me, no, you're not ready. And so, you know, I said to my mom, like, what do we do? And she said, well, let's prove to her that you are ready.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I don't remember doing anything crazy, but I think I just, was trying to convey to her, like, I want to live my life,
Mhm.
and I want to have a life, and I want to be able to get married someday, and I want to be able to have a dog and have my own place and do all these things. And I think it took about a month. I was in January of 2017 was probably one of the worst months I've ever had. Um, I was in the hospital for 3 days. I'd come out for one day, go back in for a week, come out for 2 days, go back in for 10 days, out for two, back. And after that, I said, Mom and Jason, like, you guys, I can't do this. I remember sitting on the couch crying because I just felt so sick. And they I said, I got to do this. And so I talked to the social worker, and she said, I see it now. I see that you want it. I see that you're ready. I will present your case to the board.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
So,
And I'm sure that she probably sees a lot of these cases, and I mean, I don't know how experienced she was, but I guess through her, practice and talking to people, so she probably knows, I guess, what she's talking about. So what happens next? What happens next when you said you were ready? She said she presented the case to the board. What happened next, Katie?
I went through all of the testing again. I had the heart cath, I had the 6-minute walk, I did the PFTs, all the tests. And I think she presented it to them. And then a couple of days later, they had accepted me, and I was back on the list. I remember her telling me that there were 3 people ahead of me on the list, sicker than me on the list, but
Mm.
2 of them were inactive. So only one person was
One.
on the list
Yeah. Wow.
ahead of me. And that was towards the end of January that I was on the list. And I I was barely living. I was so sick. I was needing a wheelchair when we went out, but I was making it a point to get out because, I said, if this is all I have left to live, I don't want to spend it watching TV. I don't want to spend it on the couch. So,
You got to be positive. You got to have that positive mindset. I mean, no matter, how bleak and tough things are.
yeah,
And I'm also assuming that the second time around, was the wait a little longer?
it
Or
was.
okay.
It was. So, while I'm trying to live life and we're bringing the wheelchair anywhere we go, sometimes I'm like, let's just get out of the house and go walk around the mall. And, so Jason would push me or my mom would push me. And just, I was living with Jason at the time. And I had a big concentrator with a really long oxygen cannula so I could walk around the whole house. And um, I was showering maybe once a week because it was too hard for me, but I was still working full time because
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was trying to live my life still, and I liked what I did. I worked in catering and I had friends that I worked with, and, they would wheel me in the wheelchair to the bathroom if I had to go. And I had a lot of support.
That's beautiful, though. I mean, when you think about it, the support system is so key. It's so key. It is so important because people that love and care about you make that much of a difference. I mean, seriously, it is so key. Okay, so once you're on the wait list and you're still living your life, and which is the best thing to do, because otherwise it's so easy to get depressed. It's so easy to just sit at home and mope around and do the whine,
Yeah.
and then you go into a funk. So you didn't let that happen to you, and I think that's really key. That's really key to maintain a positive attitude, and then to try to do the best that you can, to live your life, no matter what the circumstances are. So take
I
us.
mean, don't get me wrong, I had bad days for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely,
I
absolutely, absolutely.
absolutely had days where I moped and I cried and I said, this sucks. It's not fair. I hate my life. Like, I had those days for sure. But I really did. I, I thank my mom and Jason a lot for being the support that did keep me positive most days.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to have bad days. I mean, we're only human, but the key is to pick yourself up right back up,
Yeah.
and dust yourself off and say, okay, listen, I had a couple of days of weakness, but this is not me. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's all you can ask yourself, to be honest with you. So
Yep.
so take us to the potential second transplant. So what happened?
Yeah. So I think I was at my mom's house one day and it was a few days before my birthday in November. And she said, Kate, like, what do you want for your birthday this year? And I looked at her and I just said, new lungs. And she was like, oh, like, that breaks my heart. But I'm like, yeah, well, it's fine, mom. Like, it's fine. I'm just saying, I just want to feel good again. And
Mhm.
um, I went to work a few days later and my phone rang while I was at work, my cell phone, and I picked it up and they said, is this Caitlin? I said, yeah. And she said, it's Dr. So and so. We've got some lungs here for you. Are you interested? And I was like, and so I had my phone in my ear and I was kind of banging on my desk, like, pounding on my desk to try to get one of my friends' attention. And she looked at me and I was like, new lungs, I got lungs. And, I said, yeah, I'm interested. She said, okay, like, make your way over to Stanford. And I hung up and I was like, new lungs. And I remember calling my mom and I said, Mom, I got the call. And she said, okay, bye. And hung up on me. And I was like, okay. And then I called Jason and I said, babe, like, I got the call, I got new lungs. And he said, okay, I'm leaving work, bye. And hung up on me as well. And I was like, okay. They both just didn't know what to say. So they hung
Very
up.
excited, very, very excited for you. That's
Very
awesome.
excited. And, Jason was in San Francisco, which is about an hour from Stanford. And my mom lived on the East Bay, which is about an hour from Stanford.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I had my coworker and I left. She drove me to the hospital. We got checked in. Um, and I didn't feel nervous at all. I was very calm and like at peace and excited.
Mhm.
It was different from the first time. I just felt ready. I was like, okay, here we go.
That is very interesting. That is interesting. I guess. Well, I'm guessing the fact that you had the transplant, you know what it took, and you know how your life changed afterwards. So the second time around, you're like, hey, sure, let's do this. Let's go. That's a great attitude to have. That is a great attitude to have. Okay, so you had your transplant. Take us post transplant a little bit. So now I'm thinking, what is was it 2019 now?
It's 2017.
17, okay.
2017. I had the transplant 3 days before my birthday.
Nice.
And, they had me up and walking the day after.
Oh, wow.
I had my birthday in the hospital. I had friends and family coming to visit. Um, it was a little bit harder on me emotionally. I remember having some weak moments, and Jason, sitting with me and saying, "Look at that scar on your chest. Look at what you've just been through. Like, you are so incredible."
Survivor, you're a warrior. You're a warrior.
Mhm.
Don't ever forget that.
Yeah. And I needed that reminder because I did have some tough moments where I was like, my chest hurts. I can't walk. I still can't lift my arms over my head. Like, I was, getting a little mopey, but I turned that around pretty quick, and I was out of the hospital in 8 days this time. So it was even a shorter
Wow.
stay than the first time. And I went home. I got to go right home because I lived close to Stanford. I live close to Stanford now.
Mhm.
And so I was home and I went back to work in 2 weeks. I was so excited to get back to my life. And
Wow. That
I
is
called my
amazing.
boss. I said, "I'm ready. Like, can I come back?" And he said, "What? What do you mean you're ready to come back to work?" I was like, "Yeah, I missed work. Can I come back?" And
That is crazy.
I was ready to jump back in.
But that is beautiful though, because with your mindset, you already said, okay, I had this bump on the road, I got my new set of lungs, and I'm going to honor it, and I'm going to keep living my life, which is the whole idea. The whole idea of a lung transplant, you know, somebody, unfortunately had passed, and then, their family made the sacrifice to give you another chance, and then you just grab it and say, you know what, I'm going to run with it. And that's a right attitude to have. That's a right attitude to have.
Yeah.
So, so,
And
so it's been 6 years, right? Which you're new?
it's been 5.5 years almost.
Yeah.
And in this past 5.5 years, I've just had the most beautiful and amazing time. I ended up getting married to Jason, and
Congratulations. Awesome.
thank you. So
Awesome.
we've
Awesome.
been married
And
for
my
four
regards. That's
years.
awesome.
Yeah, we've been married for 4 years now. We just got a new puppy, so I'm living the dream that I wanted. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a dog. I wanted to
Yeah.
have our own place, and I've found a love for cooking, so I'm cooking all the time, um, and post or during COVID, I ended up losing my job and
Mhm.
in the catering business because
There's nothing to
nobody's
cater.
having parties.
Cater to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I lost my job, and that was a struggle, and I couldn't find a job for a year. Um, and then I had a really, really cool full circle moment for me. I was, doing job searches, and I saw that Donor Network West was hiring, and that is the organ procurement organization that procured my lungs.
That is awesome.
And so I was like, I have to apply. How cool would this be?
That
Uh,
is great.
the job that was posted was for a receptionist. And I said, nothing wrong with being a receptionist. That's not really what I want to do, but let me get my foot in the door.
It keeps you busy. Keeps you busy. Keeps your minds off things.
Yeah.
As a matter of
So
fact, I'm glad you segued to that, because I was gonna ask you with your involvement with Donor West Network. Tell the people who's not really used to it what it is about, what it involves. So please.
sure. So I applied for the job. They called me. They said, we think you might be a little bit overqualified for this position, but we do have a different position for you, and it's called a donation coordinator. And I said, okay, like, tell me about it. So they said, you would be the person who is coordinating with the nurses. When someone passes away, they're going to call you, and you're going to ask them questions about this person and see if they qualify to be a donor.
Mm,
And so I did that for maybe 6 months. And then after I did that for a long time, they promoted me to what's called a family care specialist. And it's a job that is so, so close to my heart. Um, and I'm the one who's talking to families about donation when their loved ones pass away.
wow. Okay.
Um,
I mean, I'm sure it's a very emotional and it's a tough, but if anybody's qualified, Who else qualified with 2 double lung transplant, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's just
I,
it's an amazing job and it's a feel good job. And I walk out of there every day knowing that I'm changing lives because, yes, there are people that I talk to that don't want to talk to me. They say, "You're calling me right now. My loved one passed away 3 hours ago."
yeah,
And I try to explain, I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, it's very time sensitive. They have this ability, amazing ability to save and heal lives through the gift of organ and tissue donation. Um, and
yeah.
the amount of families that I've talked to that are like, that is so beautiful. If we can find something positive and change someone's life out of this tragedy for our family, we want to do it.
And that's really probably the only way to look at it. I mean, on one hand, you empathize with the family members, God knows in what situation they lost a loved one. You don't know what that person meant to them and so forth and so on. So yeah, I'm sure it's a very, very difficult subject to broach because there's a time frame. You can't let a week go by. It's God forbid, it's as soon as it happens, you need to secure that. So it's a very, I mean, I'm assuming a very blunt, straight, direct, compassionate, conversation, but also very rewarding because you are living proof that it works. I'm living proof that it works. So
Yeah.
are thousands and millions of people around the world that are living proof, that it works. So segueing back to the donor's family for a little bit. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to ask you the ratio of people who said yes or no. To me, I don't think that matters. But I think what matters is those people that welcome it, that said yes. How's that process? How does that go? How does that go? Please enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah. You can ask about the percentages that say yes versus no. They're about, in California, about 40% of people are registered donors.
Okay, that's a
Um,
nice size. That's a
it
nice.
is. And of the people that are not registered, typically about 40% of those people will change their mind when they're approached.
Okay,
Um,
so
on
that
the subject, we say in our organization that you have about 40% people that are absolute yeses, about 40% that are absolute no's, and then 20% of people are
in
not
between.
sure and can be swayed one way or the other. But it's incredible how it works. I mean, it's sad. Of course, it's very sad when someone passes always. But once someone is pronounced brain dead, that's when they can become an organ donor.
Mhm.
They are typically kept alive with their heart beating with ventilator support.
Mhm.
And then once family authorizes and says, yes, we want to donate, or if the person is registered themselves, they've already made that decision and they want to save and heal lives when their time comes.
Yeah.
We have a time frame, and once we bring patients into the OR, they have a certain amount of time where they will pass once they're extubated, and if they pass within that time frame,
Mhm.
we recover their organs and find recipients and send those organs off to whatever location it is that
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 needs it.
person
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
needs them. So
Mhm.
it's kidney, it's liver, it's heart, it's lungs, of course. And then we also do eyes and skin and bone and veins and heart valves.
I mean,
So
yeah, like so one person who unfortunately passes away can save the life of 10, 11, 12 people. It depends on the circumstance.
yeah, the organs, I think it's 8 people you can save with your organs.
Mhm.
And tissue is such an incredible thing that doesn't get talked about nearly as often as organ donation, but one tissue donor can heal up to 70 people through skin grafts.
Wow. Wow.
You can give the gift of sight to 2 people through your corneas. You can help people run and walk again through bone donation.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's so incredible. And like the one thing I've taken away from working at Donor Network West is so many families, when I call them, they say, well, I don't know if he wanted to do that, or I don't know if she wanted to do that.
Mhm.
And so whenever I have the opportunity to talk about it with someone, it's make sure your family knows your wishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a strange topic to talk about for people that aren't, like us, where I'm sure it's a common conversation for you and it's a common conversation for me and my family, but people that have no experience with donation, they don't talk about it because it's a sad conversation. It's morbid, but it's so important because if your family knows, like, yes, they want to donate, how many lives can you save? It's
Exactly.
really, really incredible.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference. Like you said, it's a very, sad situation, but you can take that sad situation and make it somehow productive. Make it productive, for society, for somebody else. And I think it's a very important conversation that doesn't get enough, talk, enough publicity. So that's why I wanted to really talk to you and to enlighten us a little bit on, you know, the background work that you do, and that's a very important work. Thank you for doing that. It's a very
Thank
important work
you.
that has to be done. That's what it is. Um, in closing, I want to ask you: did you ever get a chance to to meet the donor's family? Whether it's the first or the second one, and how was that? Conversation. How was that meeting?
Sure. Um, I am so blessed to be able to say that I did meet my first donor's family. Her name is Elisa, and she saved my life. And I wrote a letter to her family shortly after my first transplant, expressing my gratitude and just telling them how my life had changed since she had saved my life. And um, I sent that out. I want to say it maybe a few weeks after my transplant and after my first transplant. So I had it in May. I think I sent it in June or July, and I didn't hear back for a long time. And I said, that's okay. I at least they know that I'm grateful. And
Oh,
I don't know. I said, I don't know how they're feeling. I don't know. I don't know who they lost. I'm not sure. I'm just so grateful. And I hope that they know I'm grateful and that I will think of their loved one every day. And then one day I went to the doctor and the social worker came in and she said, Caitlin, I have something for you. And I said, what is it? And she said, it's a letter from your donor family.
no.
And of course, mom and I are crying and oh my gosh. And so they had written me back, I think maybe in January or February the following year and said, I'm sorry it took us so long to write back to you. Christmas was really hard.
Mm,
Um, the letter was all in Spanish and it was translated for me.
mhm.
But they told me, her name was Elisa and she was a dancer and her favorite color was purple. And so I learned all these things about Elisa, and that was really incredible. And then I I tried to look them up online. Social media can be a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And so the letter was from Elisa's mom.
Okay.
And so I went online and I found who I believed to be Elisa's sisters.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should do this. But I sent them a message and I said, hi, I believe I am the recipient of your sister's lungs. And our relationship took off from there. And so we talked and would message, and eventually one of Elisa's sisters and her brother came and met my mom and I. Um,
Beautiful.
they lived a ways away, maybe like 4 hours away.
Mhm.
And we met them halfway and had lunch, and they told me stories about Elisa. And um, a funny story was they were asking about my transplant, and I said, yeah, when I woke up, all I really wanted to do was eat cup of noodles. And we both looked at each other and they were like, what?
That's her
That
favorite.
was one of her favorite foods.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep,
and
yep.
so that was really cool. So I met them and I kept in touch with them for a while. And then the following year, the rest of the family wanted to meet me. So I met Elisa's mom and dad and her other two sisters, and I met some nieces and nephews. And that was a really beautiful day. And I've seen them a few times since then. They came to my wedding, which
Oh
was
wow, that's beautiful.
so,
That's
so cool.
that's
Uh,
beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I must confess, like I'm 17 months out, and I've been pondering that from day one. It's just that it's like for me, it's like how do I approach this? You know what I mean? It's just like I feel like it's just so hard for me to approach this. And when I had my 1 year anniversary, and I'm thinking about the donor and the donor's family. You know how much they feel. You know, like I'm celebrating on one hand, but on the other hand, they lost that person either on that day or close to that date. You know what I mean? So there are these mixed feelings, but I do want to do it. I do want to do it before my second year. I think within
Mhm.
the next few weeks, I'm going to sit down. I think sometime like I sat down before, but I was just making it too complex. I'm like, no, I just can't do this. You know what I mean? So I think I just gotta make it as basic as possible. Tell them about how grateful. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it because once I go see my doctor next, and I'll go and deliver the letter in
Yeah.
person. But yeah, I'm definitely want to do that. It's been that little anxiety inside as well.
It's hard. It's hard to know what to say.
Yeah, yeah,
Me, I just wrote from my heart. I hand wrote it because I wanted it to be more personal, and I just told them how my life has changed and how I used to not be able to walk up the stairs and I couldn't do these things. And I really truly do think of Elisa and my second donor every single day when I'm doing something that I couldn't do before. And I let them know, like, I will never forget them and I will never stop telling people about Elisa and how she saved my life and how she gave me all this extra time. And, even when I had my second transplant, I was worried. I said, I don't want them to think like I didn't take care of Elisa's lungs. And he said, absolutely not. You're part of our family now. And
wow,
so
wow.
it's been really incredible. I wrote a letter to my second donor's family and I never heard back, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I,
people process things differently,
yeah.
yeah, and if they ever get ready, they get ready. um
Right. And
and
I said, I may write them again and just tell them I'm still doing really well. And I still think of your loved one on the daily. Anytime I'm doing something, I'm thinking of them. I don't know them, but I'm thinking of them
yeah,
always.
same here with me, but I'm definitely going to do that, and then I'll definitely be in touch with you and let you know how that goes.
Yes, I hope so.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for really taking some time to have a conversation with me. I really appreciate it. I really think you're doing a great job with the network, and you seem to be doing really well for yourself. So I'm very happy, and I'm hoping, wishing that those new set of lungs, or not new, but still the second one is the last one, would last you, forever. I really do, and I want to thank you for taking the time and talking to me. Is there anything else you want to say in closing to people that are, on the transplant, and even people that are post-transplant that might not be doing too well right now? Is there anything would you like to say to them?
I think if you're waiting for a transplant, just keep the faith that things will get better. I know it's not easy. I've been there, and I know that the waiting can be hard, and being on oxygen is hard, and seeing people live their lives while you can't is hard. But there is hope in transplants, and um, find support, whether it's your family or your friends or an online community.
Yeah,
Anyone who's had a transplant, like myself, like you, uh, we want to be there for those who have questions and need the support, because we know how our lives can be changed.
absolutely. And one point of emphasis I always tell people is don't don't be shy or afraid to ask for help. Okay,
Right.
you might not have the ideal family support around you, but ask friends, ask acquaintances, because you never know who's gonna step up to the plate and help you out.
Yeah.
You don't have to be out there all alone. Okay, just ask. It's okay. Because
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised when I was really sick and I was in the hospital. How many people, came and stepped up and helped my wife, helped my kids. I mean, that just you can never thank those people enough, to do that, to really, unload some of the burden that, my family was going through by helping them out. So that's, ask for support, and you'll be surprised people will be there to help you out.
Yes, people are good and people want to help, and just keep the faith, I think, is my
Yeah.
best advice. And try to keep a positive attitude as much as you can, because I really think that my attitude helped me get through it.
Yes. Yes.
There wasn't ever a doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to be okay, and I think that that's what kept me going. Is even on my worst days, I'm like, this is not forever. This is not forever. I will get better
Temporary.
and I will feel good again. So, and
Exactly.
here I am. I'm living proof that transplants are an amazing gift.
And you're looking great. You can't tell by looking at you. You look awesome.
Thank
So
you.
thanks again. Say hi to your family. Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon. I appreciate you giving me some time, or giving us some time, to talk about, your transplant, your experience, and how you're living. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. And I wish you well with your lungs. 17 months is amazing. I wish you 170 more.
Yes, yes. Well, but I'll take it.
Maybe more than that, however many years.
Yes. Thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. Take good care.
All right. Thank you. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Miss Katie Lyssand. I think it was very informative. I really want to thank her for her courage and her determination. She's really has been through a lot. She's a fighter, and it shows. And it shows. Thank you very much to Katie Lyssand for spending some of her precious time with me.